Thanks for joining us for coffee this morning. Caliber Coffee and treats provided by Perkin Taps. And you know I wouldn't read a joke on here if it wasn't great. The lady that brings the treats every day, Donna, right?
Donna.
She writes jokes on the boxes, Marshall, every day. Did you know that?
I've seen the boxes a couple times with a joke on it, so I didn't know it was a daily thing. But
yes, it's a daily thing.
Let's hear it.
It's the top says it's not that I can't juggle. I just don't have the balls. That's from a lady.
I didn't read it before.
That's pretty good.
That's fun.
pretty good. So thanks for joining us for coffee this morning, everybody. Marshall, where do you want to start?
It was a timely joke because I was actually juggling on the weekend with a friend of mine. We each had 3 pickleballs in our hand, and we were throwing these balls up.
Wow.
Balls up and down. My wife's got a video of it. So I learned how to juggle waiting for hockey practice to start back when I was in college. So 3 pucks, throwing them around.
That's interesting.
Pickleballs don't hurt as much when they land on your toes as pucks do.
And they don't move as fast.
And since I've used the word pickleball, I have a whole bunch of pickleball friends that are saying, "How come you never say anything about pickleball on the show?" I go, "Well, we're mostly talking about football and hockey and stuff, but great. For those of you that have never played it, great sport. Ton of great people.
Do you play indoors in the winter?
Play everywhere, all the time."
Hey,
so I mean, right now it's the fastest. For those of you that don't know what about the sport, it's got a stupid name. I admit it. Stupid name, pickleball. Who named it pickleball? I know the story, but I won't get into it. But it's got this reputation for being sort of a Mickey Mouse sport because it's got a terrible name, and it's mostly seniors that play the game. But you look at the sport now; it's the fastest growing sport in North America. There are people of all ages starting to play. It's a sport where men and women can play together. It's a sport where women or older people and younger people can play together competitively. It is a fantastic sport. I played indoors all winter. Except when I'm in Mesa.
Marshall, the commissioner of the Pickleball League. We got to move on. It's all Reg Lackmus, I'm sure, is asking you why you're not talking about pickleball. That's why we don't. I know. That's why we don't talk about horseshoes. It's all I can do to talk about curling. Back off with the pickleball.
All right, I'm done.
Yeah.
Can I say that there is no other 99 than Gretzky?
Right, I'm writing.
I mean, that's just not even a contest. I mean, I obviously I'm older than a lot of our audience, but back then in the National Hockey League, everybody had either 1 digits or 2 digits below 20 was what you had on your jersey. And all of a sudden, this brash young kid, and it was probably, can't remember the name of the guy that signed him, Nelson Scalbania, that was probably his first agent, said, well, why don't we go with something wacky like 99, which is 2 Gordie Howes, because Gordie Howe was his hero growing up. So all of a sudden now you've got a 2-digit high number on the back of a hockey player, and now those high numbers are everywhere. Crosby, 87, Kane, 88, etc. Gretzky was an innovator in so many ways, and you ask any Canadian, I mean, there's going to be a different answer in the United States. You ask any Canadian who owns the number 99, you'll get 99% of us will say Wayne Gretzky.
Well, today on the show, it's 100%. But moving on to the Cody Fajardo signing. And I'm actually loving this poll result so far. Prairie Mobile text line taking your votes as well. But for Capital Auto Mall Universal Collision Center, who was the most outstanding player in the CFL West? 55% of Twitter respondents saying Cody Fajardo. 21% saying Brian and Burnham. This is on Twitter. Andrew Harris gets 15%, and Bo Levi Mitchell only 8% of the vote. And this isn't pro Rider fans. We've learned this is CFL-wide viewers, listeners, and voters on our polls. And you got something to say about Edmonton in this, because we don't have an Eskimo in our poll because there was only 4 options.
Well, if we had a 5th option, so my challenge to those of you listening in Alberta, in particular in Edmonton, is if we had a 5th, who would you put on there? Because I struggled with who would I put on there other than maybe a defensive lineman, and the only name that came to mind was Amondo Sewell. I mean, I don't know who, if I was an Edmonton Eskimo fan, I'd put on there. It's not going to be one of your quarterbacks. It's definitely not going to be your head coach. Sorry, that was a political statement.
Yeah.
It's not one of your running backs. It's not one of your receivers. Who is it? So write in and tell us who you think.
Early season, it was Trevor Harris. But
true,
we're talking about the whole body of work, and
right.
He's been injured too, and the team's now 8-8. So yeah, I'm with you. I have no idea who would be from Edmonton. I'm not sure.
Doesn't matter.
No, because they're not on the poll.
They're not on the poll. So the best point came from Marshall. Who would you name? Can't think of anybody. Now, to the Fajardo extension. I mean, leave it to those radio guys in Lloydminster to be the fly in the ointment. That is it too soon to give him the deal and this much money? I never even thought about it. I love the guy. I think he's the guy this team's been waiting for 5 years. And yeah, I don't think it's too soon. But Marshall, how would you answer that question?
Yeah, you got to sort of break the question into two. Is it too early for an extension? No, absolutely not. He's earned it, and it's the right thing for him. It's the right thing for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So it's not too early for an extension. Is it too much money too soon? In my opinion, I'd say yes. But you got to pay the going rate. I mean, if you want a pair of jeans and they're selling your favorite pair of jeans for $100, either you want the jeans and you're going to pay $100, or you're not going to get the jeans and you're going to save the $100. So Jeremy O'Day looked around the league and said, I think I'm going to have to pay this guy $400 or north of $400 to get him. And they didn't want to lose him in free agency to somebody else in the offseason. So he paid more than he wanted to. But he didn't pay Mike Riley money. He didn't pay Trevor Harris money. I was actually surprised how much money Franklin was making when I read Justin Dunk's 3 Down Nation report. The amount of money surprised me, but I'm still happy. I think it's the right move for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So we had one good result yesterday, not in the election, but we did in the Rider general management ranks.
There were PR people saying it was a bad move by the Riders to announce that extension on the same day as the federal election. That they would have got more pub if they'd waited today or the next day, but whatever. Not going to please everybody. And maybe they didn't want it to get out. Maybe they just signed it, right? Maybe they wanted to rush to announce it. I don't know. Enough people that needed to know found out about it.
Yeah, and Jeremy O'Day does a really good job at, and you've said this to me a lot of times, that just keeping everything close and not leaking any of the information. And so that was good. And they made the announcement, and I think they're happy to move on and get this out of the way with a couple of weeks before the playoffs start. So time to, enjoy the contract. We'll talk about it, over the next couple of weeks. But when the playoffs start, that distraction, it's all done.
Well, go ahead, Marshall.
I was going to say I like the timing of it. I think if you'd announced it today, it would have been, well, why would you do that on the day when everybody's announcing either happily or mournfully the results of the election? They trumped the election. They went ahead of the election. So I think it was good timing.
Mm-hmm. Like I say, everybody's got an opinion. It's like belly buttons, and a lot of them stink. However, those Lloydminster guys, I'm serious. Stick your finger in your belly button sometime. Doesn't smell good. The guys in Lloydminster, these brought up some great questions. Greg Buchanan, the announcer there, said, what if they get off to a slow start next year and Fajardo doesn't play well? Will they be jumping all over him? I'm like, we don't got to wait till next year. If he doesn't perform in the playoffs this year, they're going to be jumping on him now. And even Cody knows that, because in the brief discussions we've had, he says, I love being here. I love the way the fans treat me, but I know that if I don't keep playing this way and we don't keep winning, that won't continue. So are you guys with me on that? I mean, this guy does not. This is where he's unlike Jesus. He doesn't walk on water. I don't think. Right, Marshall? I mean, he doesn't have carte blanche. He's got to keep doing what he's doing.
Well, I mean, let me give you another perspective. And I don't know that the average fan gets this. When somebody signs a 5-year contract, it's not a 5-year contract. It's 5 one-year contracts. And if in year one something falls apart, the wheels fall off the wagon, you cut your losses and you don't pay as year 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this is not a 5-year contract. It's a 2-year contract. And yeah, it's for probably more money than I thought it would be or than I thought it should be. But that's just one person's opinion, and which is, again, like a navel, right? But if something were to fall off the rails, he was to have a snowmobile accident in the offseason and lose a leg, they're not on the hook for 2 full years at $400,000+. They're on the hook perhaps for some of the upfront money, but they didn't upfront 2 years worth of money. They upfronted the first year, or they're going to upfront the first year, and then later in the second year they're going to upfront that money. So you're not out all of that money. I don't think things are going to fall off the rail. I think this guy has a great attitude. I think he's got a great leadership skills. He's not a cocky guy. He's a confident guy, but he's a team guy. He's a people-first guy. He gives credit where credit is due to his offensive line, to his receivers, his defense, everybody. He hits If you say, what do you want in a starting quarterback? And you give me 10 things that I'm going to list off, he hits them all. He hasn't hit all of them yet because he hasn't had a chance, as you said in the opening, to play in the cold weather. He hasn't had a chance to play in the playoffs. Give him time. He'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, furthermore, we're waiting on Greg Zahn. What's happening there, Clark? Oh, all right. Yeah, boy, this is tough. We're going to be ready in less than a minute with Greg Zahn. Just very briefly, Marshall, and we'll kick this around tonight on our television show where it's 100% football, but there's nothing to complain about with the Riders right now. You're a realist, not a negative, not a negative person, but it's very hard to find something wrong with the Riders right now. Would you agree?
Well, they're strong in every position. They're fairly healthy in every position. I haven't heard about Dan Clark at center yet because he left the game early, but they're strong. They're well coached. They got a good quarterback. They've got good players at every position. Are they the favorite to win the Grey Cup? In my opinion, no, but they're certainly in the top 3.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.